There's something that you have to consider that is erasing up to $1.5 trillion in values for homeowners across the country. I'm going to break it down in this video, and we're going to talk about what this concern is and what you can do about it. Most people are worried about what's happening with real estate values, interest rates. This is what we see in the media all the time. But while you're busy paying attention to the real estate investment market, which is something that's actually remained a stable investment over the course of history, you're missing out on other factors that are most likely impacting your wallet. The thing that I'm talking about, and I know don't roll your eyes when I say it, but I'm talking about climate change. And I know a lot of people have different views on whether this is a factor or not, but there are undeniable detections that this is something that you need to be concerned with. Whether you think this is happening or not, I'm going to show you some reasons why your opinion doesn't matter. This is still impacting homeowners everywhere. All right, so what does this have to do with homeownership and owning a home, and why should you even care? Well, when you think about homeowners insurance costs and the availability of even getting insurance, when you think about how mortgage approvals are impacted. If you're not buying in cash and you're going to borrow money, you have to understand that this could impact your ability to get a loan. You also need to think about property values. When we see values dropping in certain areas because of environmental concerns, well, this now could become your problem very quickly. On top of that, if you're looking at a home in an area where you can't get insurance, well, if you're a seller, you're not going to be able to sell that property. And if you're a buyer, you can't buy that property using a mortgage. All these issues that we're considering that climate change is impacting, this is actually hitting some areas worse than others. States like California, Texas, Florida, they're getting the brunt end of this. And keep in mind, these have been some very popular areas for people to move into over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. In these areas, we're seeing property values drop up to 40%, which accounts for $2.8 billion of the overall property loss throughout the country. So if you're thinking about buying a home in these areas, you have to consider how this will impact your ability to buy and think about the future. How will this impact your ability to sell that home? It seems like this is only getting worse, so you want to make sure you're thinking several steps ahead. Don't just think about today. There's a lot of great properties, specifically in Texas. I consistently see videos of amazing properties, and they're selling for this low price. And I'm like, wait, that's the same wood. That's the same concrete. How is that selling for this price when in my neighborhood, this is what it would sell for? Well, the reality is you have to consider these factors. Don't get distracted by that shiny object. That may be a very pretty property, but what does that mean for you if you pay a certain price and then fast forward 5-10 years later, it's worth half what you paid for it? Now, in addition to the property values taking a loss, consider major metropolitan areas like Jacksonville, New Orleans. These areas have seen up to triple to quadruple the increase in their insurance premiums. With some of those areas, you can't even get insurance anymore. There's a lot of major companies that have actually pulled out altogether, State Farm being one of them. They won't even insure a home in California. Think, if you will, about Los Angeles. We just saw devastation with the fires, and we're in a position now where you're living this in real time. Insurance providers not paying for their coverage, not being able to get new policies. Think about how that impacts not only people who are looking to buy that area, but the people who unfortunately were living there when this took place. This is a major issue. It's something that's going to impact us not only in those areas, but now consider that a lot of insurance companies, they're nationwide. So when it becomes more expensive to pay out a claim in a certain area, well, now you have to factor in that they'll raise those premiums throughout the country because, well, they've got to cover their bottom line. Someone's got to pay for it. Look, I'm not trying to say this to scare you.
You shut up! I'm so scared right now. You shut up!
This isn't doom and gloom. I'm not trying to say the sky is falling. This is simply to give you the information that's going to help you better prepare. Because, I mean, you may be in a position where you're relocating to one of these states for work, or maybe just you want to live there. I get it. I love California. I think it's a great place. But you want to make sure that when you're making that type of move, that you know the facts. You can prepare. This way, I don't know, maybe you're going to decide if it's better to rent versus own. This could be a factor. Now, if you do live in one of these areas, it's projected that up to 55 million people will move by 2055. So those neighbors next door may not be there for very long. And when that happens, let's consider that impact. If you're in an area where everyone's leaving, well, that's going to have the property values coming down. All of a sudden, no one wants to live there, right? Think about this on the other side. There's going to be a massive move to areas that are not impacted by these types of issues. So you're going to see a huge influx into other areas throughout the country. So now what happens there? Now you're going to see property values increase in those areas. So people leaving, property drops. People moving into an area, prices skyrocket. Now let's consider that you do live in one of these areas. What can you do about it, right? Or let's say that you're just thinking about buying a home in the future or just where you're going to live. Start to study and look at the research on the areas that won't have as big of an impact. Start to look at this as an investment perspective. I mean, think about it. If everyone's going to move to a certain area, then property values are going up. That means that could be a good opportunity to buy a property there. Because keep in mind, as the demand goes up and prices go up, what else goes up? The cost of rent. Living in general, it's not just ownership. It's going to be the cost of renting as well. So if you're an investor and you're looking to buy into these areas, look for some of the safe havens that people want to find. I'll give you a hint. Water. People gravitate towards water, and I don't mean beachfront properties as much as I love them. I mean areas that have an abundance of water that are going to be protected from these types of concerns. Now, if you're not an investor and this is something you're concerned about and you're taking this seriously, then think about it from this perspective. You can look now at how you can stay out in front of it. Again, moving to some of the areas where you're going to feel protected. Now you're going to benefit financially as well as a homeowner. If you're buying a home there, you're also going to be in a position where if you can get out now before it gets worse, then that can also have its financial benefits. So do your research, figure it out, and have that very real conversation with yourself. Does this worry you? And if it does, what can you do about it? On the other side of that, you have to consider there's also going to be some places that will benefit, and they'll benefit big. Like where? Consider the Midwest. I'm not mad at that. I live in Chicago, so the fact that we're seeing that type of growth and the potential influx, that's good. We want to see that, and let's face it, it's one of the greatest cities in the world, so I think there's a lot of reasons why people want to move here. Outside of that, though, we're also seeing the Northeast. These are some areas where you're going to have more protection against these types of environmental disasters. And if you are considering Chicago, check out my other video about the reasons why you want to move to such a great city. Okay, so now let's talk about what to do if you are moving to one of these areas where this could be a concern. All right, so first and foremost, stay out in front of this and check the insurance costs. If you know the price range of the property that you're looking at, start to talk to an insurance agent. Find out what the concerns are. Find out if this is going to be difficult to insure a property in that area, and on the other side of that, how much will it cost? Also, look for properties that are going to be more favorable when it comes to insurance policy. Not just a newer roof, which can be a great way to lower your insurance, but going through and looking at options like the building materials that were used. Are they fire retardant? Are you in a position where maybe you're not in a flood zone? Because not all the areas that you're looking at are going to fall directly into that hit zone. So go through and look and see what are those costs that you're anticipating. Another bonus, consider these climate zone risk maps that are available. Go through and look and see when you're looking to consider an area, is this somewhere that falls within that hot zone? The bottom line is the best way that you can stand in front of this is stay informed. This isn't a trend that seems to be going away. It only seems to be getting worse. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the professionals who can help you. Mortgage lenders, insurance companies, even builders. Make sure that you're in a position where you're doing your research now so that you have a better understanding of what's being done to prevent this type of increase in costs. What's being done to prevent this type of loss? How can you make sure that you're doing everything you can to avoid being in one of these pitfalls? And if you are a home buyer and you're starting to consider these factors, check out my video on buying a home in 2025, if the timing is right or should you wait.